go ahead and get this thing started off. Yesterday, I was going to do this project, but some stuff came up and I didn't really have the time I wanted to dedicate to it, and I didn't really want to do like a 10-minute video. But today, I'm going to go ahead and get started on, I got this annealed last night, so it'll be a little bit easier to cut. Plan on redoing the heat treat and all that good stuff. We're going to work on this profile. I sketched this thing up a little while ago. I like the profile. It's a cool looking little knife. It's like it's got a bunch of aspects from other blades that I like in it. It's got like a little recurve to it, a little bit of a drop point. We're gonna play around with that shape a little bit once we get it in metal. But we're gonna take this ferriers rasp. What's up, Richard? We're gonna make it today. Hopefully, got a little bit more time. But our plan is I'm going to take this little sketch we got here and I'm going to try to transfer it to another piece of paper. I don't really want to cut this up. So I took some measurements of it. We're going to be well within being able to pull it off out of this ferriers rasp. So I'm going to darken this line up a little bit, and then we are going to try to make another look. If not, I'll just cut this one out. But that's what we're going to do. So get this thing darkened up so I can see it better. I don't know if the tip is going to be as dramatic. Probably going to leave myself plenty of room to mess around with that tip, because I don't necessarily care for that. It's almost like a trailing tip or like a clip point kind of. We'll see how it looks once I get it kind of shaped. But I definitely want to put this little recurve and this belly in it, because it's like a little baby chopper kind of shape, but it's also got enough belly to where it could be used for, you know, cleaning game or whatever. Anyways, let's get us some paper. I should be able to trace this, because with these rasps, the other one, I've got it packed up. We're about to be moving, so it is rough ground, ready for heat treat. So I'm gonna leave it like that until I get to my new shop. I'm gonna miss this shop. I put a lot of time in this shop getting it the way I wanted it, but you know, the other knife, I'm probably gonna finish on another live stream or do a build video. I'm doing live streams right now because it's time effective, I guess. I don't really have time to film for 2 or 3 days and edit and kind of stuff like that. So I figured doing live streams would be an easy way to keep everybody updated with what's going on in the shop, put out a little bit of content and kind of hang out and talk with some people and stuff and get prepared for the move. I'm just going to give myself a really rough outline because I'm planning on adjusting this profile once we get it in steel, because you can't hold a drawing, so maybe the handle won't work out and stuff like that. So, but this is the rough design that I kind of came up with one day, just sketching some stuff out. This pen's hot garbage. So let's get this. Man, this pen sucks. But that's what we got. So, first one and only one here so far. Yeah. I think there's a couple people in here. I'm usually out here talking to myself, people watching later on. So, get my handy dandy scrap tool out, and we're gonna rough cut this thing out. Like I said, this is just kind of one of those projects that I just wanted to do. I don't really do a lot of stock removal projects. Just wait, it will make sense here in a second. But I don't really do a lot of stock removal projects because my favorite part of knife making is getting the forge lit and, you know, making it with a hammer. But with these rasps, the whole purpose of doing the rasp is so you get that texture, you get that it was made out of a rasp kind of look to it. If you forge it, you have to grind a lot of this stuff off, and if you don't, it'll cause cold shuts and could come out to cracks later on because these are just kind of folded over pieces of metal. So best way to do rasps, my opinion, is to do stock removal. You can forge them, but you have to grind a lot of the material off and stuff like that. And at that point, there's just so many better options for known steel to where you can do the heat treat the correct way and stuff like that. So, but reclaimed steel is fun sometimes. So we'll get this thing cut out. And I don't know if I'm going to spray paint it on there or if I'm just going to cover it with Sharpie and kind of give me some oh yeah. So just get this thing popped out. I've got some spray paint. I might just do that. It takes forever to dry. And try not to tear my template. If you can't tell, I'm not very good at doing stock removal projects. I usually sketch the rough idea of it out and then forge to that shape. But I think this is going to be a pretty cool little profile. It's got like this really cool little recurve in it, and then I kind of added to that, and I'm, you know, handle shape's about there. It's going to be a little tight on the hand, so I'm most likely going to exaggerate. Oh yeah. I don't really watch a lot of live streams. I watch live streams from people that like I know, I guess. I don't really know, but I'm aware of the channel. I don't really scroll through. I don't do TikTok. It's just doesn't make sense to me half the time. Get my chunk of offcuts over here. See, I'm gonna lose a little bit of the belly, so I'm thinking we're gonna have to modify our profile a little bit. So let's throw some metal on here. That's wood. Ah. But I appreciate you guys for stopping by if you're hanging out. We're gonna throw some spray paint on here real quick. Actually, I'm gonna scoot this up a little bit. That did not work. So I'm gonna give that a couple seconds to dry. I'm gonna get my vise and stuff set up. I'll move you guys over here. Ta-da! Done. So we're gonna get this thing set up over here. Hopefully where you can see what's going on. So basically, stock removal knives are super simple. All you really need is an angle grinder and a way to heat treat. And the reason I redo the heat treat is because this was heat treated to be a file and it will not work as a knife. It'll be, you know, hard, but I don't know if you've ever tried to snap a file. They're not hard to break. And I don't want a brittle knife. I want to use them and abuse them. That way, you know, you put it out there in the world and somebody's like, oh yeah, I got a knife from him, it was really prettier and da-da-da, and I used it this time and then it broke. So I don't want that ever. So, I mean, it happens. It does happen, but, you know, we try to avoid it where we can. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna cut the handle first. I'm gonna cut the blade proud of my paint lines and stuff so that I can kind of feather it in on the grinder and get it where I want it. I'm going for this rough profile, so it'll be ballpark that. Get a belt. Just kind of giving this paint some time to dry. It's the most exciting thing on the planet Earth is watching paint dry. So, grinder's ready to go. So, yeah. While we're waiting on that paint to kind of dry up, what y'all up to today? Is it cold where y'all are at? Luckily today in Florida, we're having a little bit of Florida weather. It's warm in the sun and cold in the shade. Typical Florida. And it'll be about 30 degrees tonight, 75 in the day. You know, people that are real prone to getting the flu and stuff like that or whatever, or getting sinuses and stuff when the weather changes, don't ever come to Florida because it doesn't know what to do. So I'm gonna find some glasses. Cut some steel. So what we got? Yeah, sorry, it gets loud. I'm gonna cut this little thing off here, and then we're gonna go to the belt grinder, and I'm gonna clean up the profile, start putting in my recurve and all that stuff or whatever, and get it kind of shaped, and then we'll start roughing in bevels, and then we'll light the forge. Right? Right. Cool it off. Let's see. Let that cool for a second. Put y'all back up here. And I don't know. What's a better angle? Does that work? Does that work? See there, or do y'all want to be up here? Here. I think that's a little bit better of an angle. Kind of see what's going on. So, I got an old raggedy belt on here because this material is going to destroy a belt. Actually, I think I'm going to put a... This belt is worse. Because right now I really just want to kind of knock down all my rough grinder marks and kind of start working towards my profile. So... It's a ferriers Rasp. Doing a little jump build today.
switch over to some contact wheels, clean it up a little bit. I think I want to put the recurve. I think that'll work out. I want a pretty aggressive recurve. The video chat has pretty much confirmed my loss of faith in the human race. Alright, so Rob, I guess I'll call you Rob. So ferriers rasps are heat treated to be a file, not a knife. So I'm gonna redo the heat treat. Yeah, so I don't really care for using reclaimed steel usually, because you don't really know what it is, you don't know what kind of life it's led before you make a different tool out of it or repurpose it for whatever. So I have annealed this rasp. It's been in the forge overnight, cooled down. It's really soft now. Before I finish it, it will be heat treated to where I want it. Definitely going to redo the heat treat. I do all my own heat treating. I don't trust other companies because made in China is made in China, and 95% of it is crap. So, and mass-produced heat, mass heat treats or whatever you want to say is not really as accurate, I don't think. Not saying there's anything wrong with it, but my preference, my experience, I guess. So I'm gonna go to some small contact wheels. I'm gonna clean up the finger grooves and all that stuff are in here, whatever. I'm gonna get us a nice transition here. I'm gonna clean this up here and get it about where our drawing was. Give us a little bit more room for your hand. I don't necessarily care for that. I'm probably gonna fiddle with that a little bit more, but get the handle right, get it as close to our profile as possible, and then we'll start tweaking it around. Go with that. And again, I'm using an old junk belt because these rasps, even if they're annealed, they're using a different old junk belt because that one's junk. And these rasps are really, really hard on your abrasives. And abrasives are not cheap. So save your materials where you can. Turn my speed down. Get this tracking right. There we go. Yes, I'm familiar with like your CPMs and like other stainlesses and stuff like that. I don't use stainless. I don't like stainless. I mean, I know that some of the stainlesses you can get up into a relatively high HRC range, but that's a big drawn out process that I don't have the tooling to do the heat treat on certain stainlesses, and for the amount of work that it takes to get a stainless steel hard just for the sake that it doesn't corrode or whatever is just not really appealing to me, I guess. Some stainlesses, I mean, you can get a pretty sweet blade out of stainless. I don't like stainless for a lot of reasons. It's just not a knife material for me, I guess. It's not what I would consider to be a tool edge. It's cheap and easily mass produced, and stainlesses have got a bad rap over the years, and there's just certain things that I just don't like about it. So what I'm going to do now is kind of profile this down and kind of clean this up and round it off, and it's fitting a little comfortable. I still don't like the tip. I might bring this down a little bit more, I'm not sure. All my knives are handmade. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm right about stainless. I'm just saying I don't prefer stainless. A lot of the reason why I don't really care for stainless is because I don't have the way to heat treat stainless and do it correctly. So I'm not really into arguing with people on the internet. If you like stainless knives, that's awesome. Buy stainless knives and make stainless knives. I just don't make them. I don't know what to tell you. They don't perform as well as carbon steel. They just don't. Sorry. In my experience, I'm allowed to have an opinion different than yours, I guess. I'm not knowledgeable. I'm pretty knowledgeable. You don't pay attention to what someone says. You're just trying to have an argument. Magic Cut is good steel. Mainly reason I don't do stainless is because I like to forge all my metals, and if you forge stainless, it'll oxidize terribly. You should know that. Anyways, I'm going to probably light the forge and put this in the forge. I don't necessarily want to forge on it because I'll lose this kind of pattern, I guess, the texturing of the rasp. But it's super thick, so I don't know. I'm not really sure where I want to go at this point. I kind of want to bring up that little harpoon clip that was on the spine of the drawing. That'll also take a little thickness out of the handle. I might just do it on here. Yeah, I could do it on here. Let's do that. Back to the big contact wheel and kind of push that little harpoon clip back into it, and then I'll flatten everything off because it's still kind of wide. The handle's really wide. I have big hands, so if it's big in my hand, it's too much. I don't really like stock removal. It's too much work on the grinder. Hate grinding. So I'm gonna bring this down a little bit here and kind of bring in that little recurve and kind of clean that tip up and stuff, and kind of bring everything down different profiles. And I might exaggerate this belly just a little bit more, kind of play with the shape a little bit. I'm gonna take a second here and get rid of this guy. He's kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. Trying to argue on a live stream because people have nothing better to do than sit on the internet and talk shit. So I like the way this profile is headed. I'm gonna kind of keep going back and forth between the flat platen and the wheel and kind of work in our shape here because I don't like this part of the knife. It's not as exaggerated as it was in the drawing because I didn't have quite enough material. I'll probably go back. The reason I wanted to save the original drawing is because I'll probably come back and forge that shape. I'll be able to put the material where I want it. There they are. I actually don't like using safety glasses on this grinder because the majority of the things I've had pop up and hit me in the eye, hit me in the face, go behind the glasses and hit there because I don't have the correct safety glasses, and they're just aggravating to wear, really. I wear safety glasses when I use an angle grinder because things are probably the most dangerous thing in this shop. It's angle grinders, not necessarily the grinder, but the cut off wheels. There's a little abrasive discs, so I don't know. You don't think should I mess around with the tip a little bit more, or bok choy? I don't drink bok choy. That's what we're. Let's see. Flat platen. I think I'm just gonna make it a drop point instead of trying to do that clip because I didn't really care for that clip point. The knife is just too short and too thick to kind of execute that neatly. I'd have to pull my bevels up so high and it just wouldn't look right. But let's see what we got. That's a little bit closer to what I was wanting to do there. So now it should be soft enough to drill holes. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can drill tang holes. Do I agree if Canada becomes a U.S. Canada becoming a U.S. state? I think Canada is a completely different country with a completely different set of people, and I don't know. Could really care less, to be honest with you. I've never even been remotely close to Canada. I live in Florida. I don't think it's got anything to do with the country. I think it's more of a people kind of thing. There's stupid people everywhere and intelligent people everywhere, and they don't get along because everybody's trying to be right. My thing is, you go back to what you learned back in the day, and your mama told you mind your own business, and if you ain't got nothing nice to say, keep your mouth shut. Because the internet has taught people that they can say and do whatever they want to do with zero consequences. And I think that's a lot of the issues we have in society today. People have zero respect for each other. And I could care less your beliefs or whatever, as long as you have respect for one another and you don't disrespect someone else or me or whatever by following whatever it is you want to do, then I could really care less. I mean, I got better stuff to do than worry about other people's stuff. Anywho's, I think I'm going to try to do 1/4-inch pins because this knife is wide. I can get away with bigger pins. Bigger pins look nice. Or I could use this. This should work too. See if this will drill. Yeah, it's still nice and soft. All right, so basically, the reason why I annealed the steel so I could do this. That's also, if anyone's gonna ask, why I don't use a vise. This belt on this drill press is so wore out. I could grab this shuck and stop it with little to no force. So as long as you have a hold of your material. Should be good to go. All right, so kind of eyeball my pinholes. It's kind of hard to drill your holes exactly where you want them because of the surface of this material. It wants to wander because of the file marks and grooves, so yeah. Sometimes you get lucky. So now I can, I'm gonna throw a lanyard hole. I've never done a lanyard hole, to be honest with you. I don't really have a reason why, I guess. I just have never done one. I don't really, I've never used a knife that has a lanyard hole to where it was beneficial. I mean, I know that it's easy to kind of let your knife go and all that stuff or whatever, but you still have to re-grab a holded knife, so I've never really needed one, so I've never really, yeah, I know, I've just never used one, to be honest with you. I've just never been like, man, I really wish this knife had a lanyard, you know? I'll do one. I mean, I don't really. Just kind of clean that chip out of there a little bit. I'm going to re-drill the holes after heat treat anyway and stuff like that. And let me see. I'm gonna go through the chat real quick and see what y'all are saying while I sit down and look at this blade. So we are working on a ferriers rasp. Oh. Because I want to try to forge this knife. I don't necessarily want to do it out of the rasp. So, this is what we got. We are looking at about about 9 inches overall, depending on what side of the tang I pull from. It's got about a 5-inch blade. Handles inside of the handle is what I measure. Where am I gonna put the cool paracord? I don't know if I'm gonna do a paracord on this one, mainly because it's hard to drill an accurate hole in this stuff because of the texture of the rasp. And be my luck, if I try to drill a paracord hole, it'll jump to one side and it won't be even, so when I go to shape my tang and stuff like that and handle material, it'll probably get too close to the outside of the wood or whatever, and it won't look right. I'm big on proportions and profile and stuff. So now I think, now that we got our holes popped in here, I'm going to start setting in some rough bevels, pushing this material back to get this off of it, to get us a nice clean edge, so we can go in the forge and get it ready for some normalizing thermal cycles and get ready to do a heat treat and all that stuff. Let me scroll up a little bit. Yeah, safety squints. So, laundry hole. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna rough in some bevels on this thing. I'm probably not gonna push them up very far. I'm just gonna push it to the point where I can get through this material, because I don't want this to be on my edge. I've taken it down a little bit to where it's not as aggressive and it's kind of smooth, mainly because when you do a Ferriers rasp knife, the side that has the more aggressive rasp, I don't really know what the difference is, this little cross cut and then whatever this is, the rasp side, it's way deeper than these. So when you grind your bevels, your bevels are going to have to go up a little bit higher here to get rid of this. So over here, you can kind of just put them to match. Because if you try to do this one first, you're going to have to bring your bevel up to get the same geometry. You're going to have to bring them up further. It's going to have to go a little bit steeper towards the spine just so you can get through this material, because, I mean, you can see here it's twice the depth into the center of the steel. But these are good and thick on the center, so you won't have to worry about it being too close to the edge or anything like that. So I'm going to rough in some bevels, get it cleaned up, and get it ready for heat treat. So let's do that. Put you over here. Does this spot work? Like, can you see good, or do you want to be down here? And what works? This work? That'll work. I'm gonna take a second to show you what I was talking about earlier. So with here, I ground in and I'm already through the file marks. Over here, I'm roughly the same distance up. And you can see where I've still got those little indentations. So I'm gonna bring this side up to about where I want it, and then I'm gonna patch it up. where I want to be. It's still extremely thick. Edge is roughly centered. I got to bring it down a little bit more on this side, and I think the profile is cool. I'm going to reheat treat this. Files do not make good knives because it is a file. If you try to use a knife that's made out of a file without redoing the heat treat, I guarantee you will break it. I guarantee you'll break it. Yeah, so we're gonna reheat treat this because I'm actually a knife maker. I don't just cut knives out of metal and stuff like that. I promise we're gonna reheat treat it. I promise it's gonna work. It's gonna be okay. So this bevel is relatively straight, but I'm still too thick. This bevel I've got to clean up a little bit and bring in because my edge is got a little bit more for heat treat. So now I have a forge. I'm not gonna so I'm gonna clean up on these bevels just a little bit more. I'm gonna bring them down a little bit thinner and clean this up a little bit more. I might take it down a little bit thinner here because I really don't like this being as aggressive in the I guess the spine of the knife. During the quench, those make me nervous. So I'm gonna clean up a little bit more of these bevels and we're gonna light the forge. Light the forge while it's heating up. I'll scroll through the chat real quick and I'll answer some questions. If you have any questions or reply to some things. I'm trying to pay attention, but I have what you would call terrible eyesight, so I cannot see that far. It's small. I'm not trying to make stank squinty faces at the camera so y'all can make fun of me. So do that. So, got the forge heating up, and then do a couple of thermal cycles and heat treat this to be a knife instead of a rasp. So let's see. See if we can read all these YouTube Mastersmiths comments and they can tell me what I'm wrong. Alright, so we already discussed the heat treat. I'm going to redo the heat treat. I can't read Arabic. Yeah, so curvature of the blade was kind of the biggest deal owning this knife. It's got a little small recurve in it. It's kind of a difficult to do. It's kind of teaching myself, I guess, how to do recurves and stuff. Knife brands that are my favorites. I prefer to buy handmade knife from people. I don't like giving companies my money unless it's something like Montana Knife Company or something like that. Somebody who is an actual maker. I don't care for mass-produced stuff. I don't care for anything made in China. Nothing to do with where it comes from. It's just I've never got anything from China and be like, that's really well made. I just don't care for. I don't like spending money on something that I'm gonna have to buy again one day because of the poor quality of it. So knife brands, anyone who makes knives that puts work into it, those are my favorite. It's not necessarily a saber grind. It's going to be a relatively steep flat grind. So welding pattern on the steel. Talk about a hamon. A hamon line is basically just a differential heat treat line. It shows the difference in the steel from hard to soft steel in the spine. I use a Weldon helmet. You're probably another one of those people that are going to be popping stuff. Convex grinds are good. It's a very durable edge, and yes, I do make my own Damascus. Damascus to do processing steel and stuff like that. I really don't like grinding. It's like my least favorite part of knife making. I don't like grinding. It's terrible. It takes a long time, and abrasives are expensive, and it's just boring. And 9 times out of 10, unless you have headphones in, you can't listen to music and hang out in the shop. So I'm gonna move the camera over here. We're gonna get set up. We're gonna do a couple thermal cycles. I'll ask some questions, some legitimate questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I don't have a website. I have a Facebook page. I'm in the process of doing a website, but I'm also in the process of moving. So it's on the to-do list, and it's just not, I don't see the point in starting a website right now if I'm going to be closed down for a little while. I really want to get rid of that chicken. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, I'm pop it in the forge, bring it up to a nice, good red temperature, bring it out, let it cool, and then slowly start working my temperatures down and getting my heat treat right, grain refinement cycles, if you will, and get it ready to pop my maker's mark in it and go for a winch. So yeah. Any other questions? I got some questions. Trying to find a spot to set this up where you can see. This is not the shop's not set up for filming. There, that'll work. Brands you mean makers? Yeah. Brands you mean makers? Yeah. Makers, I have a few makers that I like a lot, that are relatively well known. Some of them do YouTube, some of them don't. I don't really have any knives made by those makers. I mainly, watch their stuff and look at their stuff as like inspiration and kind of learn from them. Anyway, I'm letting the tang of this knife heat up because this is the thickest part, so it's not acting like a heat sink and pulling the heat out of my blade.
And no, I don't have any European knives. I don't have any German knives. I have a kitchen knife. I believe it's German. I want to say it's Swedish though. Other than that, every knife in my kitchen is handmade. They're just don't really care for that. My tip's getting a little hot, so I'm going to let it kind of heat into it and then slowly start working it to get the blade up. I'm going to raise it all the way above critical temperature, and then I'm going to work my way down and do some grain refinement cycles and get it ready for heat treat. Back to the makers. Some of my favorite makers, Jason Knight, Neil Kamimura. I'm a big kitchen knife fan. I make a lot of kitchen knives. Steve Schwarzer is one of my favorite people to look at their work, because he's just on a whole nother level of, just ridiculously good craftsmanship. So that's going to be our reset cycle. I'll let it cool down to not necessarily cold, but to like a black. It's still going to be way too hot to touch. Then I'm going to go back in and slowly start bringing it to where I need it to be. I'm going to go ahead and get my oil ready. I don't know what a bathroom or a bedroom knife is. If you're trying to be funny, you can just swipe, find you somebody else to play with, because you're not funny. Kitchen knives is what I mainly like to do. I do a lot of hunting knives also. I do a couple of custom orders here and there. Mainly I do kitchen knives. It's my favorite. And I have a beard because I'm a man and we grow beards. And it's easier to just have one than shave every day and deal with it. And I like it. So I don't know. What's with the weird question about somebody else? I have no patience for people today. And all these stupid questions that have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on. Hello, Amelia. I have a sense of humor. You weren't here for the earlier part. There was people that were just talking shit for 10 or 15 minutes, and they got on my nerves. But yes, I'd like to do kitchen knives. They're my favorite. When I first started making knives, my thought process was, if I make kitchen knives, if I can learn to make kitchen knives extremely well and get that process down, everyone has kitchen knives. It's just, Alright, so I'm gonna let this one do one more cycle. I'll lay it on my little brick over here. I'm not upset with the question. Like I said, earlier there was people in here just rambling off all kind of absolute nonsense that had nothing to do with anything. Children, basically. My heat treat setup, I have a ribbon burner forge set up here. I have a huge quench tank. More volume to me is come up with better results. I don't have issues with it flaring up. I don't have issues with it wanting to boil over or anything like that. And then when I temper, I temper in just a regular oven. Yeah, so yeah, and I don't get upset at questions. I just don't have patience for people that just want to come in and just ramble on about something that's completely irrelevant to what's going on. Like that person. We're in a forge and we're working on a knife. Why do you want to see my car? that makes a lot of sense.
Anyways, make sure it's straight. I'm gonna do a couple clamps in the vise to keep it straight. When I annealed it, it laid in the forge overnight and it picked up a little bit of a warp. This material is thick to the point where it should not warp. So one low heat thermal cycle at a nice dull red, and then we are gonna go for a quench. Oh no, I gotta do Maker's Mark, so never mind. Yeah, for my final quench, yeah, I do a regular oven. It's just an oven. It's not anything special. I usually, depending on the thickness of my blades and what the blade is going to be used for, variation in heat treatment, tempers and stuff like that, I usually do about 3 or 4 thermal cycles, cooling down as they go, grain refinement cycles, go for a quench, file check it and stuff like that. I usually clean off the oxides and stuff and the decarb layer before I do my temper, so you can see temper colors, because thinner blades, if you temper everything at 400 degrees, thinner blades will get a little bit into the darker straw colors and stuff like that, so you got to be careful with that. So my Maker's Mark. I'm gonna do 2 more thermal cycles because I got it a little bit on the hotter side for that. I forgot to do that. So basically, I'm gonna bring it up to a really hot red into your low oranges, and then I'm going to bring it into a pretty good red, no orange, and then bring it into a dull red and let it cool in between each one, and then quench it. So, anyways. Right there.
Appreciate it. The longest blade I've ever tried, I did a D-guard buoy. I think the blade was like 13 and a half, 14 inches, something like that. Overall length, I want to say it was like 18 inches or something. I don't really remember exactly. Big D-guard buoy. It was a fun build. I've never done one before. I haven't done one since. It was the first one I ever tried. I usually don't temper very much over 400. I mean, like when I do fillet knives and stuff like that, I'll temper them around the 450 range and stuff. Most of my kitchen knives I temper at about 403 degrees, give or take. That's just, I don't know if that's exact. That's just what I set it on, and it gives me the right temper colors I want, the performance and edge retention that I usually go for. And I use 8670 or 80 CRV2 for kitchen knives a lot. That's what they seem to like, so that's what I do. I don't cast silver. I'm not going to comment on your irrelevant question about the Dodge Viper because it doesn't make sense, man.
doesn't make sense. So, anyways, let that get up. It's getting there now. So, I'm gonna kind of get into my duller colors now out of the forge. We're gonna get ready for the heat treat. So I'm gonna let this cool down a little bit. It's definitely not what that means, but yeah. That's cool. I've always had a big respect for gunsmiths. Those guys, their trade is, there's a lot more precision in gunsmithing than knife making for sure. Unless you're into like really high-end folders and stuff like that. But gunsmiths, those guys, especially like the old style gunsmiths who literally made everything from scratch, those guys did some really cool work. Pretty much, yeah. So I'm gonna bring it up now, get ready for a quench and go in the oil and harden it. And after the harden, I'm probably gonna shut down the chat. Appreciate all y'all for coming to hang out. If you're interested in this stuff, I do knife making videos all the time. I got a lot of stuff on my channel if you want to go check those out. I've been getting into doing folders here recently. I haven't actually done an actual, you know, build video in a while. I've been doing a couple live chats here and there and kind of a couple shorts here and there. But hopefully we'll get us a build coming up soon. I just said something about it not doing that. Anyways, the reason I did that is my oil is really, really cold. So, let it cool a little bit. File check it. I had to pull it out because of the fire and stuff, so it's probably not completely hardened. My fault, not paying attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, it's definitely soft. So, I'm gonna go back in. Do one more thermal cycle. You know, I actually didn't even check to make sure this file was hardenable. Probably should have done that. Right? I can't say that, Rich. Because if I say that, then the other people in the chat cry. My go-to steel for hunting EDC fixed blade knives would definitely be 8670. I get mine from Pop's Knife Supply. I know, what is it? New Jersey Steel Baron, they carry it also. 8670 is really easy to forge. The heat treat process on it's relatively simple, and it seems to have extremely good edge retention. I've abused some 8670 knives to the point where I would put it up there with like 52100. Your higher carbon steels. It's very durable. Now, I mean, obviously, if you take your knife and you beat it into the side of a piece of steel, you're obviously going to hurt it because of the focused pressure on the edge. It's not what knives are for. I don't test my knives like that. I usually do like leather slices over and over and stuff like that, and paper slices, and I'll beat it into like some wood and stuff like that or whatever that's softer, just to check. And I also use them for what their intended purposes for. I keep a lot of my knives to test, try to repeat the process, so I kind of have an idea of how it's going to perform. So, just because your knife is pretty,
if it doesn't work, it's useless, you know. I'm gonna do one more thermal cycle because I didn't harden. I didn't think to heat up my oil. I think I actually said I was gonna heat my oil up and I didn't do it. And then when I did it, it flared on me, and then I had to pull it out and blow it off and get the oil to go out. So the interrupted quench, it just didn't harden right. So I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm gonna do one thermal cycle, bring it up to temperature, and quench it. I do not know if this rasp will actually harden. How are you all today? I usually cut the little tail off of the rasps and quench it and try to break it in a vise. That's usually a good indicator if the steel is actually hardenable or if it's a case hardened metal. So let's bring this thing up. Let it cool. Hang on, I gotta. Let me get rid of this clown. So, anyways, so we'll let that cool down to a black heat. Take away whatever damage we could have caused by the failed heat treat, and then I'm gonna bring it up. Oh, appreciate you, Scottish Rebel Wolf. So we're gonna try the heat treat again. I'm gonna wear gloves just in case. Basically, the oil flared up because of the ridiculous difference in temperature of the steel and the oil. It was kind of chilly last night. I guess the oil didn't warm up today in the heat. So I don't have a drink, or I would. So it's coming up to temperature now. Probably gonna let it soak a little bit more. What I'll do is some steels like 01 and stuff like that require a soak. Absolutely, I appreciate that. So I'm going to turn the forge off. The forge is well above heat treat temperature, so I'm going to turn the forge off and let it kind of soak in that temperature for a while. Sometimes that helps with the heat treat, so I'm going to do that. And then we're going to stick it in the oil, see if we can get a successful quench out of this stuff. I think that one took. Got a little bit better color on the blade, that white along the edge and stuff like that, and along the flats. Usually a good indication of a successful heat treat. It's the formation of martensite, stage of steel. It's very hard. Very brittle, very hard. So take this file, kind of check it on some spots. I honestly don't think this is gonna hard. So, I don't know about Viking descendant. My family is Irish.
like actually Irish. They been here for like 2 generations or something like that, like great grandparents. People that I'm old enough to remember. So it's not like someone was like, oh, well, my uncle aunt told me, you know. It's not one of those cases. So let's see. Cleaned all the crap out of this file. If it actually took. Yes. Maybe. Yes, it did take. It is hard. So now I'm going to clean it off on the grinder, and then I'm going to go in for the temper. My temper process on this knife will be probably going to do like 410 degrees for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That should work. That should be plenty enough. All right, let's go back over here to the grinder real quick. We've pretty much got it wrapped up. It's about to go into the temper. That's a long, drawn-out process. So I got it cleaned off where I could see my temper colors. I'm going to go into the temper. Unless you guys have any questions, I'm going to get off here. It's been an interesting chat today. Appreciate y'all for coming to hang out. I got a Facebook page if you want to get in contact with me or see a little bit more of the stuff I do behind the scenes that I don't actually put on YouTube. It's Little River Forge at Facebook. It has the same icon that the YouTube channel has. If you like hanging out and watching knife making stuff or asking questions about knife making stuff, not cars and whatever else they were talking about earlier, check out my channel if you want. I appreciate y'all for coming to hang out.